What if I told you the Amish have been beating summer heat since the 1800s, without a single air conditioner or electric fan? And here's why it matters. Their ice houses are making a comeback, and they could save you hundreds on cooling bills. Stick around to find out how. Hey everyone, I spent the last week diving deep into Amish communities, watching old footage, reading historical journals, and even talking to off-grid living experts. What I found? Absolutely fascinating. You're going to learn how the Amish build these near-magical ice houses, how they keep food fresh all summer long, and yes, one of them actually stored ice for over 4 months using nothing but sawdust and wood. So whether you're into budget living, eco-friendly hacks, or just love a good nostalgic story, this one's for you. Oh, and before we go further, have you ever seen an ice house in real life? Drop it in the comments below. What is an ice house? Have you ever wondered how people kept food cold before refrigerators existed? Before the hum of a fridge filled our kitchens, there was another kind of cold storage, one that relied not on electricity, but on winter itself. That's where the ice house comes in. An ice house is exactly what it sounds like. A small building designed to store ice. But don't let the name fool you. These aren't just sheds with snow inside. They're carefully built structures meant to hold as much ice as possible through the coldest months and keep it frozen long into spring and even summer. Think of it like a freezer you build once a year, but instead of plugging it in, you pack it full of nature's own cooling power. Ice houses have been around for centuries. Long before the Amish started using them, they were used by ancient civilizations. In fact, some of the earliest known ice houses date back to Persia, over 2,000 years ago. Those early versions were called yakchals, and they were dome-shaped structures made from special heat-resistant materials. They could keep ice all year round, even in the middle of a desert. Fast forward to colonial America, and ice houses became common among wealthy families and large farms. They were usually built underground, or had thick walls lined with straw or sawdust to keep the cold locked in. Some were even connected to rivers or ponds so fresh ice could be cut and stored easily every winter. But when modern refrigeration came along, most people stopped using ice houses. Most, except for the Amish. The Amish never adopted electric appliances, and because of that, they've kept the tradition of ice house building alive. For them, it's not just about nostalgia, it's about practicality, simplicity, and living off the land the way their ancestors did. So what does an ice house actually look like? Most Amish ice houses are simple wooden structures, sometimes made from logs or planks. They're often small, maybe big enough to walk into, but not much more. Some are partially buried in the ground, while others sit above ground but are heavily insulated. The goal is always the same: trap cold air and protect the ice from melting too fast. Inside, the floor is usually raised slightly or sloped, so melted water can drain away. That's important because standing water would make the structure wet and messy, and worse, speed up the melting process. The walls are packed with natural insulators like straw, sawdust, or hay. These materials are lightweight but incredibly effective at keeping the cold inside. Think of them like a blanket wrapped tightly around a block of ice. Without that insulation, the ice would melt in days. With it, it can last for weeks, even months. Some Amish families use burlap sacks soaked in water and left to freeze. These homemade ice bricks are stacked neatly inside the ice house and covered again with layers of insulation. It might sound primitive, but it works surprisingly well. Now, here's something most people don't realise. The placement of the ice house matters a lot. Amish builders choose shady spots, often facing north to avoid direct sunlight. If possible, they'll build the ice house near trees or hills that provide extra shade. Some are tucked into the side of a hill or placed under the cover of tall pines. anything to reduce exposure to the sun's warming rays. Another clever trick? Ventilation. You'd think sealing the ice house completely would help, right? Actually, no. Trapped warm air can build up and cause the ice to melt faster. That's why many ice houses have a small vent near the top. This lets hot air escape without letting too much warmth in. It's a simple design, but it makes a huge difference. And believe it or not, these structures can stay below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, that's about 4 degrees Celsius, even when the outside temperature climbs into the 80s and 90s. That's cool enough to safely store milk, butter, cheese, eggs, and even leftovers from dinner. Some Amish families even use their ice houses to chill drinks during the day. Imagine grabbing a cold glass of lemonade straight from your backyard cooler made of wood and sawdust. One story tells of an Amish dairy farmer who used his ice house to keep milk fresh for over 2 months, and he didn't need a single plug-in appliance to do it. That's the kind of efficiency we could learn from today. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds interesting, but how do they get the ice in the first place? Well, it starts in the winter. When temperatures drop and local ponds or lakes freeze solid, the Amish begin harvesting ice. Using hand tools or basic machinery, they cut large blocks from the surface of the ice. Each block is carefully measured, lifted out, and transported to the ice house. This isn't easy work. Ice blocks can be heavy and slippery, and the weather has to be just right. But it's a yearly ritual for many Amish families, and it's done with care and precision. Once the ice is safely inside the ice house, it's layered with insulation and sealed in tight. From that point on, it's all about patience. As the seasons change and the sun gets stronger, the ice slowly melts. But thanks to smart design and planning, it lasts far longer than you'd expect. Some Amish communities even have multiple ice houses. One might be used for daily food storage, while another is reserved for larger items like dairy products or bulk storage for the family farm. And while the Amish may not use electricity, they're not against using a few modern conveniences if they fit within their values. Some have even combined solar-powered refrigeration with traditional ice houses, creating a hybrid system that gives them the best of both worlds. But the heart of the ice house remains the same. It's a testament to resourcefulness, sustainability, and the ability to live comfortably without relying on the grid. In fact, ice houses are making a quiet comeback among people interested in off-grid living, homesteading, and eco-friendly home design. More and more folks are realizing that these old-fashioned structures offer real benefits, especially when energy costs are rising and climate concerns are growing. So next time you feel the heat of summer, remember, somewhere out there, an Amish family is enjoying a chilled drink from a wooden box built months ago, powered only by snow, sawdust, and good old-fashioned know-how. Want to know how they actually build these things step by step? Well, stick around, because that's exactly what we're going to dive into next. How Amish build ice houses. So you know what an ice house is. Now, let's talk about how the Amish actually build them. And trust me, it's not just stacking some blocks of ice in a wooden box and hoping for the best. It starts with careful planning. Because once winter hits, there's no time to waste. The Amish know that timing is everything when it comes to harvesting ice and building a place to store it before spring arrives. The first step? Picking the perfect spot. You might think any old backyard corner would work, but the Amish are very intentional about where they place their ice houses. They look for shaded areas, ideally facing north, to avoid direct sunlight. That means placing the ice house near trees, hills, or even tucked into the side of a slope. Why does direction matter so much? Because sun equals heat, and heat is the enemy of ice. So by choosing a shady, cool location, they're already giving themselves a head start on keeping things cold all summer long. Once the location is picked, the next step is building the actual structure. Most Amish ice houses are made of wood. Some are built from logs, others from planks or boards. Either way, the walls are thick and solid. But here's the secret. It's not just about the walls themselves. It's about what goes inside those walls. Insulation is key. To keep the cold trapped inside, the Amish pack the walls with natural materials like straw, sawdust, or hay. These are lightweight, easy to find, and incredibly effective at slowing down melting. Think of them like a warm coat wrapped around a block of ice. Except instead of keeping the person warm, it keeps the ice cold, and they don't skimp on it. Every gap, every space between the wooden planks is filled tightly with these insulating layers. The goal is to create a sealed environment where outside heat has a hard time sneaking in. Now, here's something most people don't realise. The floor matters just as much as the walls. If the floor isn't built right, melted water can pool inside and make everything damp. That speeds up the melting process and creates a mess. To prevent that, many Amish ice houses have raised or sloped floors. This allows water to drain away easily, keeping the inside dry and the ice lasting longer. Some ice houses even have a small drainage hole or channel at the bottom to guide water out. It's a tiny detail, but one that makes a big difference over time. Next comes the roof. Like the walls, the roof is also insulated with straw or sawdust. Some Amish ice houses have double-layered roofs with airspace in between. Another smart trick to reduce heat transfer. A well-insulated roof means less warm air coming down and messing with the ice below. But perhaps the most overlooked feature of an ice house is the ventilation. You might think sealing the door tight would help preserve the ice. But the truth is, trapped warm air can do more damage than fresh air coming in. That's why many Amish ice houses have a small vent near the top. This vent lets warm air escape without letting too much heat back in. It's like a pressure release valve for hot air, and it helps maintain a stable temperature inside. Now here's the fun part, actually filling the ice house with ice. When winter temperatures drop low enough, local ponds and lakes freeze solid. That's when the Amish get to work cutting blocks of ice from the surface. Using hand tools or basic machinery, they measure and cut large slabs of ice, usually around 2 feet thick. Each block is carefully lifted out and moved to the ice house. Some families use sleds or carts to transport the heavy pieces. Others stack them manually, layer by layer. And again, insulation plays a huge role here. As each block is placed inside, it's covered with more straw or sawdust. This doesn't just protect the ice from warming up. It also prevents the blocks from touching each other directly, which could speed up melting. It's like wrapping each block in its own little blanket. Some Amish families even use burlap sacks soaked in water and left to freeze. These homemade ice bricks are stacked neatly and then covered again with insulation. It's a clever way to maximise storage space and efficiency, especially if pond ice isn't available in large quantities. Once the ice house is full, the door is closed tightly. And that's it. From this point on, it's all about patience. As the seasons change and the days get warmer, the ice slowly melts. But thanks to the smart design and heavy insulation, it lasts far longer than you'd expect. Some Amish communities even have multiple ice houses. One might be used for daily food storage, while another is reserved for larger items like dairy products or bulk storage for the family farm. And while the Amish may not use electricity, they're not against using a few modern conveniences if they fit within their values. Some have even combined solar-powered refrigeration with traditional ice houses, creating a hybrid system that gives them the best of both worlds. But the heart of the ice house remains the same. It's a testament to resourcefulness, sustainability, and the ability to live comfortably without relying on the grid. In fact, ice houses are making a quiet comeback among people interested in off-grid living, homesteading, and eco-friendly home design. More and more folks are realizing that these old-fashioned structures offer real benefits, especially when energy costs are rising and climate concerns are growing. So next time you feel the heat of summer, remember, somewhere out there, an Amish family is enjoying a chilled drink from a wooden box built months ago, powered only by snow, sawdust, and good old-fashioned know-how. Want to know how they actually use these ice houses during the summer? Well, stick around, because that's exactly what we'll cover next. How they use them in summer. So the ice house is built, the ice is stored. Now what? Well, that's when the real magic happens. Once summer rolls around, the Amish start using their ice houses like we use refrigerators today. But instead of flipping open a door and grabbing a cold soda, they walk out to a wooden structure in their backyard and pull out food that's been naturally chilled for months. It might sound old-fashioned, and it is, but it works surprisingly well. Inside the ice house, the temperature stays low enough to keep food fresh. Depending on how well it was built and insulated, some Amish ice houses can stay below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, about 4 degrees Celsius, even when it's sweltering outside. That's cool enough to safely store milk, butter, eggs, cheese, leftovers, and, yes, even drinks. One Amish family I read about actually used their ice house to chill jars of homemade lemonade during the day. Imagine walking out in the heat and pulling out a glass bottle of ice-cold juice, all powered by winter snow and sawdust. Sounds refreshing, right? But how exactly do they organise everything inside? After all, you can't just throw stuff in there and hope it doesn't melt. The Amish are very careful about what goes into the ice house and how it's stored. Food items are usually wrapped in cloth or placed in wooden boxes to protect them from moisture. Some families use baskets lined with clean towels or paper to keep things dry and organised. And here's something most people don't realise. They don't just store food. Some Amish families also use their ice houses to keep tools and supplies cool during the summer. That might include dairy equipment, cooking utensils, or even extra jars of preserves made during canning season. Now, here's a fun fact. Not all ice houses are the same size. Some are small enough to fit just a few blocks of ice and a couple shelves of food. Others are large enough to hold entire barrels of milk or stacks of butter wrapped in wax paper. It really depends on the size of the family and how much they need to store. And believe it or not, some Amish communities have 2 ice houses, one for daily use and another for long-term storage. The smaller one might be closer to the house for easy access. The bigger one could be further back, used only when more space is needed, like during peak dairy season or when preparing for holidays. This smart system helps reduce unnecessary trips to the main ice house, which keeps the cold air locked in longer. But let's get back to the ice itself. As the weeks go by, the ice slowly melts. But thanks to the thick insulation and smart design, it does so at a snail's pace. What started as a solid block might become a puddle over time, but the cooling effect lasts far beyond the actual ice. Think of it like this. Even after the last piece of ice has melted, the structure remains cool for days because the walls and floor absorbed all that cold energy. So while there may not be visible ice anymore, the inside still feels refreshingly chilly. One story I came across described an Amish farmer who used his ice house to keep milk fresh for over 2 months without any electricity. That's the kind of efficiency modern fridges struggle to match, especially when you factor in energy costs. Of course, not every Amish family uses their ice house the same way. Some rely on them heavily throughout the summer. Others use them only for specific foods, like dairy or drinks. And some have even combined traditional ice houses with solar-powered refrigeration systems, creating a hybrid setup that fits their lifestyle perfectly. But no matter how they use it, one thing is clear. The ice house isn't just a storage unit. It's a symbol of self-reliance, tradition, and sustainability. In a world where we're always looking for the next big tech upgrade, the Amish remind us that sometimes the best solutions are the simplest ones. They don't need Wi-Fi or smart appliances to live comfortably. All they need is a little planning, a lot of patience, and a good supply of winter ice. So next time you reach for that bag of frozen veggies in your electric freezer, take a second to imagine doing the same, but from a wooden box filled with sawdust and snow, because somewhere out there, an Amish family already did. Want to know why these ice houses still matter today, even for people who do have electricity? Well, stick around, because that's exactly what we'll talk about next. Why it still matters today. You might be thinking, this all sounds cool and nostalgic, but why should I care? I've got a fridge, I've got AC. What do I need an ice house for? Well, here's the thing. Even if you're not Amish, even if you love your modern appliances, there's still a lot we can learn from these old-school cooling boxes, and more people are starting to realise it. For starters, ice houses are incredibly eco-friendly. No electricity, no chemicals, no noise, just natural insulation and the power of winter. In a time when energy costs are rising and climate change is a growing concern, that kind of low-impact living is worth paying attention to. Think about it. Every time you open your fridge door, you're using energy. Multiply that by millions of homes across the country, and it adds up fast. But an ice house, once it's built and stocked, it runs on nothing but physics and planning. That's a big deal. And for people interested in off-grid living or homesteading, ice houses offer a real, practical way to reduce energy use without sacrificing comfort. You don't have to give up your fridge entirely, but having a backup cooler made of wood and sawdust? That's a smart move. Plus, building your own version of an ice house can be surprisingly affordable. You don't need fancy tools or expensive materials. A few wooden planks, some straw or hay, and a shady spot in your yard. And, boom, you've got yourself a natural cooler. For budget-conscious folks, that's a win-win. Some backyard gardeners and small farmers are already bringing back the idea, using mini ice houses to store fresh produce during warmer months. Others use them like root cellars, only colder. And let's not forget the charm factor. There's something deeply satisfying about storing food the old-fashioned way, about knowing exactly where your cold comes from and how it got there. No mystery wires, no humming motors, just snow, ice, and good craftsmanship. It feels real. In a world full of smart fridges, voice-controlled freezers, and app-connected appliances, going back to basics feels refreshing. Like unplugging from the grid, even just a little. And for nostalgic viewers or fans of Amish life, that's part of the appeal. It's not just about staying cool in summer. It's about holding on to traditions, about remembering how things used to be done, and maybe even trying them out for yourself. Some people even build ice houses just for fun. They turn them into backyard bars, cold storage for camping trips, or creative science projects for kids. One guy I read about built a tiny ice house just to see how long a block of ice would last, and was amazed when it stayed frozen for over 6 weeks. Talk about a conversation piece. But beyond the nostalgia and novelty, there's another reason ice houses are making a quiet comeback. They work. Seriously, they really do. If you live in a place with cold winters and hot summers, an ice house could help you cut down on electric cooling costs. Maybe not fully replace your fridge, but definitely help lighten the load. Imagine using one to store drinks, dairy, or leftovers during the summer, or using it to keep your homegrown veggies fresh without running your fridge at full blast. That's not just clever, that's smart living. And while most of us aren't giving up electricity anytime soon, finding ways to live a little simpler, a little greener, and a little closer to nature. That's something worth exploring. So whether you're looking to save money, reduce your carbon footprint, or just enjoy a bit of history in your own backyard, the Amish Ice House has a lot to teach us. And the best part, you don't have to be Amish to try it. All you need is a little space, some basic materials, and the willingness to think outside the freezer box. Want to know how you can start building your own ice house? Or at least appreciate the genius behind these old-school chill zones? Well, stick around, because that's exactly what we'll cover next. So there you have it. The Amish ice house is more than just a wooden box with snow inside. It's a smart, sustainable way to stay cool without electricity. A tradition that's survived for centuries, and one that's making a quiet comeback today. From harvesting winter ice to building insulated storage sheds by hand, the Amish have mastered the art of natural cooling. And the best part? You don't have to live off-grid or give up your fridge to appreciate the idea. Whether you're into budget living, eco-friendly hacks, or just love a good nostalgic story, there's something inspiring about how they do more with less, how they use what nature gives them, and make it last all summer long. It's proof that sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones. And if you're feeling inspired, maybe this is your sign to try building your own mini ice house, or at least start thinking about ways to reduce your energy use this summer. Either way, I want to hear from you. Have you ever seen an ice house in real life? Or better yet, have you ever built one yourself? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories, questions, or even ideas on how you might use an ice house in your own life. Also, if you enjoyed this look into Amish traditions and old-school cooling tricks, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes looks at forgotten skills, clever lifestyle hacks, and the secrets of simple living. Because trust me, we've got a lot more where that came from. Until next time, stay curious, stay cool, and maybe throw a block of ice in a cooler just to see how long it lasts. See you in the next one.